We just heard that we lost Tylee this morning. He passed. We knew he was really sick, and talking about it, we said that to the players on Thursday at practice that we felt like he was going to hospice, and they all know what that means, and that he probably had 2 days to 2 weeks. So they all ran to see him and basically hugged him and talked to him and laughed with him, and then we didn't know if he was going to make it this morning before the game. And you have to figure out how you're going to tell a group, and what a difficult thing to tell a group of young people about one of their best friends. And it triggers a lot of things that other people have had in their lives that are like this. So it's a very, very difficult time for them. And at the same time, you do it in a dressing room right after you've lost a heartbreaking game. They're struggling. We told them to get with our mental health people who are really good, to get with their friends, to get with their parents. We emailed their parents yesterday and said that there was a chance this would happen. And even if not, that it was a very difficult time for them to see Tylee struggling like he was. And then the parents needed to make sure that they were with their kids and hug their kids after the game, regardless of how it came out. So, when Sally and I will leave here and go see Mom. Mom hugged me and cried hard after the first quarter, so I figured it wasn't good. But this is part of life, and we got to learn to utilize the days we have to the best of our ability, because we don't control how many that we do have. And I will say, and this young man fought so hard for his 2.5 years. The doctors told us he outlived what he should have, and he did it with a spirit, and he did it with a smile on his face, and he didn't miss a meeting. He didn't miss practice. He coached these other young people. So, he's just an incredible young person. And without getting into faith here or religion, we got to hope that he's healthy right now, and that he's got a smile on his face, and that he was in a very difficult spot yesterday with tubes in his nose and his mouth, and trying to stay awake. And so that was a very difficult thing for some of the players to go see too. And hopefully that'll help them with this process, that they saw how tough a shape he was in, and they knew that it probably wasn't going to get better. So the game itself, and I'll touch on it, it's like Duke and Pittsburgh. We said they're all coming down to a game. They're all coming down to a play. There's a thin line between winning and losing, and this team's had a load put on them. So what we've got to do is just keep getting better. There's a fumble in the first quarter that leads to a touchdown. There's a missed field goal. There's the field goal right before the half where he has the long run where we lose contain. There's a run at the end of the game. There's so many things we can fix that give us a chance to be a better team and win the last 5 games. And that's what we'll do. There'll be some things that we will do for Tylee's family that we had already told him. The athletics department, the university is going to name the nutrition room outside of the locker room that's brand new within a year, the Tylee Craft Nutrition Center or area. So that's really cool. And he had a big smile on his face when we told him we were going to do that. So it was good that we were able to tell him at the same time. The guys have number 13 on the back of their helmet with Tylee Strong sticker. They'll continue to wear that for the rest of the year. J.J. Jones told us last night he wanted to wear Tylee's jersey if that was okay with his name on the back. From what I've heard, the receivers want to rotate that jersey and somebody wear it every game for the rest of the year. So we've got open date next week. We'll go back and look at what we could have done and should have done to beat the teams that we haven't here in the end, go back and try to get better at what we need to do for the last 5 games.
We talked to Jacoby. I asked him a couple questions Tuesday about Tylee, because he came in with Tylee's known him for a while, and he talked about perspective, how especially when you're having a tough year on the field, it gives you perspective. How, as the head coach, do you help those kids understand the perspective, the difference between football and real life here?
I think, Andrew, it's why I've grown up and I'm handling the games that don't turn out like we want them to better, because I'm supposed to be teaching these young guys. And to pout and act like a 2-year-old when you're 73 and you've been doing this for so long is really ridiculous. It's selfish, and it's something that it took me a long time to learn. But I need to show them that they're so close. I need to show them that with all this pressure on them, knowing that Tylee was that sick and having to manage it all week. Here they are coming from behind 10 points and tying it up with 46 seconds left, and they're still fighting their guts out. I had a pro scout the other day that came by and watched us practice and said, "You guys look like you're undefeated." So what I've told the guys is that we don't get to choose our circumstances. And we started 9-1 and 6-0 and probably took it for granted. And we're not in that position now, but this team is a team, I said from the start, is going to be a team that's going to finish better than those other teams finished, and that's what we've got to do. And they show that every time they play. It's there. We as coaches have to keep them up and keep them going and make sure that we put them in better positions to win. And Jacoby gets better every week. He did some really great things today.
Stay on Tylee just for a minute. You went over and saw him, I think it was Thursday. You guys put a couple photos out. Can you just kind of tell us what that experience was like, and if there's anything you can share that maybe he said?
Yeah, he got mad that the Jets fired their coach because he's a Jets fan, and he was out when he had his really bad day, and he didn't realize it, and he woke up, and I was saying, what's that about? You know, and he was chewing on a rubber ball, and his girlfriend said, "Don't be chewing that." And he looked at her like a smart aleck, which he could be, like me, and he said, "Point." So he still had a little bit. Sally, when you walked in, where's Sally? You walked in, he said, "What?" When you walked in, Thursday, because he was struggling a little when I walked in. When Sally walked in later that night, he said, "Sup?" Yeah, and he was focused and really happy and looking good. So. Yeah, he did. He told Sally, "That's enough. I want to stop." So, and his mother is a police officer in Sumter, South Carolina, and she is one tough lady and a wonderful mother. And they had 14 family members here today, and Sally showed her the video last night, and she cried like a 2-year-old. So I think the family feels the love, and they'll continue to feel the love. And what we've got to do is we've got to be strong and pray for strength for us as leaders to help these guys on the field and off the field. And then they've still got lives and still got school and girlfriends and all the things that young people have in their lives that this just makes it more difficult for them. So more than ever before, I got to step up, and I got to be stronger for them and make sure that I can help them manage the stuff and move forward in their lives. And I told them we had a team that won 13 games one time, and they're not going to learn near as many life lessons as this team is. And that's not the way this thing's designed. We're supposed to all love winning, and the winning teams learn more and all that. Really and truly a team that's struggling on the field, that has stuff pop up like this tragic thing that we saw today off the field are the ones that will get stronger and be able to be better husbands and better fathers and be able to handle stuff in their own lives more because they're having to handle it now at a very young age.
Matt, can you tell us how you found out, because I'm assuming you found out after the game, and how you went about trying to break the news to?
Yeah, I usually keep my phone in my pocket during the game to make notes, because I used to write them down, and I did not want to know during the game because we thought he might die this morning. And so I left my phone, and then I got a stupid Apple Watch that pops up, so I didn't look at it all day. But when I went down to the celebration, September would not let me go.
After the game? you mean?
No, at the end of the first quarter.
Right.
And I felt really bad at that point because she would not. She was crying so hard and squeezing so hard, and I thought, And they wanted to protect me because I had so many people I was dealing with. And then as soon as I walked off the field, Sally and Jeremy grabbed me and said, "Come on, and let's go in this room." And I knew then that we were in some trouble. And I felt it. We got text last night at 1:30 that he was really struggling breathing. So we knew it wasn't good. And then Jeremy hands me a sheet of all the things I need to say that I can't look at before I walk in and talk to a team that just lost a game with 16 seconds left. What we've always done, I try to be honest with you all, I try to be honest with our players, and we're human and we mess up and we have emotion, and they're all hugging each other and trying to be okay with this. It's not good. We all have loss, and if we don't, I mean, how lucky is that? We're going to have if we haven't. And one of the things that you have to learn is how to handle it, and that's one of the more difficult things that we have in our lives. And none of us want to lose a family member, and as a football coach and a football player, that is a family member because you're with each other every day. And Sally was with him 2.5 years ago in the elevator when he dropped. So it's been quite the journey, but he taught us so much. I mean, he's at practice throwing up, and I'm over there telling him to leave. He just had radiation, and he said, "No, I need to be here. I need to be with my family and my people." And so he's tough. So I can handle losing a football game.
Mack, when you first, I guess, met Tylee and brought him into the program and everything like that, I mean, what, as a person, stuck out to you about just, his personality and just who he was?
His mom being tough and raised him right. He was like a 3.6 grade point average in his core GPA. He was raw as a receiver. He was tall and long, and they didn't throw it a lot. So we thought we found a real diamond in the rough. And he was not messing with recruiting when we offered him. He said yes, because that's who he was. And he's such a favorite with our nutrition ladies. Have been unbelievable. They've been like his sisters. And like the nutritionist doesn't like having cereal in the training table because of the sugar. Well, Tylee demanded sugar or cereal, so now every player gets Tylee cereal. And so it's he's quite the character. He was sassy. I loved him. He wasn't going to tell you something that just to make you feel good. If you ask him, he was going to give you a direct answer. He was very quiet. He wasn't going to waste words, but he was wonderful. And when we lost the young guy at Texas, Cole Pittman, and he was 21 years old, we lost him in a truck accident in February, the day before we started spring practice. So we had some experience, but it was so different because we got a phone call and a picture, and they said, "Is this your player? You need to identify him, come and identify him, and then you need to call his parents and tell them that they had lost him." And I still talk to Mr. Pittman to this day. This one was overtime, and it's very, very different when you watch somebody. So what I did remember at Cole's funeral, and it's what I will tell the players tomorrow, is that we had Tylee for 23 years. So are we lucky that we had him for 23 years and got to learn from him and love him, or would it be better if we never met him? So obviously 23 is not enough. If I could swap places with him today, I would with 100%. And I don't want my family to die before I do. I may be a coward, but I do not. I do not want to bury players or family, and this is the second player in 36 years. So, and then we started calling around last week trying to find players who we had lost during the season. There aren't many. and trying to figure out how you handle it, because in the spring you've got some time for counseling, and these guys, they come back in tomorrow. So, and we were discussing this morning on the way in with Jeremy and Sally, if he passes before we get to the stadium, do you bring him up and tell him? With social media now, it's going to leak. So we said no, and that's when I took my phone away, and they stayed away from me, and I don't know what time it was, but none of the players knew it. So, and usually when they walk in the building, they put their phones up. So we felt like we had a chance if we got to the game, then if he did pass, that there would be a chance that they wouldn't know it till afterwards. And then all of their mental health people told us that you need to tell them in a group if possible. So we didn't need to let them leave and then us try to call them individually, or texting or teamworks is really cold. So we felt like that as difficult as it was in that setting right after that game, that it was our duty to make sure that we told them all there. And then we've got people that can be visiting with them in the locker room now to help the ones that are really struggling. And people, when I've had loss, I usually withdraw and get quiet and get by myself and think. So everybody handles it differently. Some are gonna laugh and talk about how cool he was and how much fun he had. So we'll have to deal with that with the players too, and some of the young ones probably didn't know him very well, especially the ones on the other side of the ball, because he wasn't around them as much as he got sick here since fall started.
When I talked to you a couple of weeks ago, I remember telling you upstairs about my photographer and that Tylee reached out to him right away. I didn't ask you at the time about Tylee doing that. I've talked to a few other people, and they say that was vintage Tylee, and that's what he's always had around this room. Is that the kind of young man he was all the time, that
Yeah.
he would reach out to some old guy like that and
Yeah.
just say, I'm here with you?
He would go to the hospital to see kids with cancer. He would reach out to people with cancer. Sally had cancer at an early age. She was 29. So she always feels like that she can call people and talk about it. It's one of those deals like Mr. Pittman told me when he lost his son, and people come up and say, I know how you feel. He said, you really don't. So unless you've had cancer, how can you tell somebody you know how they feel? So Sally's wonderful, Tylee's wonderful, because they would go up and tell people, I know how you feel. And here's what I did, and here's what I struggled with, and here's how I handled it, here's how I grew with it. And this game and the military game are the two most emotional for me, because we love our military, and we wouldn't have freedom if we didn't have them. And this one just grabs you because we've all had some people that have been sick, or we've lost family and friends with cancer. So it's a very, very emotional week anyway. And I told the guys that they should reach out to the people they dedicated the game to, and most of them dedicated it to Tylee. I did too, and we'll sign the ball and give it to his mom. I do feel like that I did tell the guys that if you dedicated it to somebody, a friend, a family member who's either struggling with it or the family has lost, you make sure you call them and tell them that you played your guts out for them. And that team did fight till the end, and that's what we asked them to do.
Mack, I was just gonna ask you, I know it's too soon probably to ask this question about services and how you might handle it as a team, and would the team go, and what you
Yeah.
might do next.
Chip, we've been talking about that stuff, but again, when he's alive,
Right.
you're careful. Sally and I will go from here and talk to Mom and try to pick her up and make sure she's okay. What we did at Texas is everybody went to the funeral that wanted to, or that felt like they wanted to. And I don't know if we have a celebration here and a funeral in Sumter. It's just too early, and with the open date, we can at least talk to Mom about that today and see what she wants, and we'll obviously do whatever she wants.
Mack, how meaningful was it to see JJ catch a touchdown pass wearing Tylee's number 13?
Yeah, that was so cool. When he came up yesterday, and these kids are wonderful. You get frustrated if somebody drops a pass or goes the wrong way or something. These are young people that are unbelievable. When he came up last night and he said, would it be okay? He and Coach Galloway, and Lonnie's crushed. I mean, Tylee was like one of his sons. So last night when JJ came up and said, would it be okay if I wore his number, his jersey? And I said, you want his name on the back? And he said, yes. And I said, yes, you can ask Mom. And he said, and Coach, a different receiver wants to wear it every week. And I said, good for you. We'll make it. And then I actually told the Georgia Tech coaches before the game, I'll stand down there and look at the numbers of the players, and they were having trouble with 13. I said, that's J.J. Jones. He's number 5. So we've got a sick player. Don't worry about it. That's who he is. But yeah, those kids are just unbelievable, and I hate for them so much. They're struggling right now. You struggle with a loss when you were trying so hard to win. Our Georgia Tech games come down to the last drive the last 3 years, and we've been on the wrong end of it. So we thought we were actually going to do this, and then you got Coach Collins' time at Georgia Tech, so you got a lot of emotions going around right now.
Do you know if they were able to tell Tylee that JJ was going to wear his number?
Yeah. Mitch Mason didn't come to our team hotel this morning and say the blessing before our breakfast, which I knew we were in trouble there too, because he went to see Tylee. And they said he was so happy this morning with the celebration. He was happy, and I don't know the timing, but they showed him the video. He knew about the naming of the nutrition center. They're just, they said he basically said, tell the guys I love them and goodbye, and went to sleep, is what I was told. And since I just walked out of there into here, I don't know what time that was. I don't have a bearing yet, but Mitch did tell the team that I was with him this morning. I'm sorry I missed you all, and he wanted me to tell everybody basically goodbye, and then went to sleep. So, he is a wonderful lesson for all of us. I mean, all of us, because of who he is and what he stood for at 23 years old. And he's tough as nails. I mean, he had so much radiation, we ran out of time. And that's what happened. He couldn't take anymore. He had that much radiation and chemo in his body. And I never heard him gripe one time about anything. He wouldn't even admit he was sick while he was throwing up. He'd say, I'm good. So he is a blessing from God for Sally and I for the last 3 or 4 years and this team. And if we're not going to bring them in here because they're really struggling. And again, how do you tell them? I mean, it's just they did not know when we walked in there because they had not seen their phones and if anybody had put it on there. But it's what we've got to do is handle our grief, but we also have to celebrate the wonderful person that he was and all that he taught us. And hopefully we can learn life's lessons from him because each one of us could get that call today that we're really, really sick and our life changed with a phone call. And that's what you get. We say it a lot and a lot of people don't listen. It's true. Sally and I saw it, and we saw it for real for 2.5 years, and then he was doing so well. We thought he would make it, and then it just came back up and started spreading and just got out of control.
When you were with his mom on the field at the end of the first quarter, you said that you kind of had an idea. When you walked away, you were obviously emotional. How did you compose yourself to get from there back to the sideline? And as much as you've been through, was this maybe one of the biggest challenges to kind of, for lack of a better term, get your game face on?
Yeah. It's a great question. I usually hide my emotions the best I can because I need to, because I have to be somebody else. And that team and Tylee were bigger than my feelings. So I had to go back and make sure that, because J.J. Jones was crying. I mean, there were kids crying when I walked back down there. So it's just, you kick in a mode of doing whatever you need to do at that time to make it. And then when we, I thought we were gonna score and win the game, and I thought what a wonderful tribute that would be to Tylee, even though I didn't know that he had passed at that time. And if we'd won the game, and they would have been so high and celebrating, it was gonna be such a downer when we told him that they had lost their friend. So it's a hard thing either way.
Outcome of the game aside, how much did it mean to you to be able to celebrate Tylee today?
We have celebrated him for 2.5 years, and we love Mom. She's a family member, tough as nails, driving back, keeping her job as a police officer and driving back and forth as much as she has. I mean, it's just amazing how tough that lady is. And then to have to let your son go at 23 is something that no parent ever wants to deal with or even think about or dream about. So she's had an awful situation. And I feel like that she knows that he was in such a wonderful place. We had a birthday party Tuesday, and he was in a wheelchair. I guess it's 2 weeks ago, Sally? Tuesday? 10 days, yeah. And he was laughing and cutting up in his wheelchair and throwing things back and forth. And he went down really, really fast, because then 2 or 3 days later, the players decided to have a drive-by because he was really struggling. So he was at Family House, who has been wonderful to Tylee and his mom. And they had a drive-by. So all the guys drove by in their cars, and he sat out in the wheelchair, and he was not in a good spot there. So you could see that he was just going down. And I do think with our own experiences with my mother and my brother, both of them got to a point that they would be better off being somewhere else. And that's the one thing that I will say is in the last 10 days that he was not in a good place. And he was in pain, and he was trying to make everybody feel good that came to see him, and he was trying to stay awake. And yesterday it really bothered me because he was on a lot of morphine, and when the guys would go see him, they'd say, "Yeah, Coach, he wasn't awake." And so we knew that it wasn't good. We just didn't know how long it was going to be. I didn't think until I woke up this morning that it was going to be today. And this morning early, we started asking mental health questions, and Jeremy's been a superstar to try to get between mental health and us and Dwight Hoyer's and his staff to say, how do you handle this? What do you say? What do you do? When do you do it? If he passes as we're getting off the bus and they're here, do you pull them in and tell them? And everybody said no. So even if he did pass before the game, they weren't going to tell us, and that I think that obviously is their job. It's not my job. I'm not a mental health counselor. So it puts everything into perspective, though, for all of us.
Mack, the cancer awareness portion of today, this is something that you all have planned out long in advance, correct?
Yes, cancer is such an awful disease, and we've lost so many family members and friends, and we felt like that it was, military doesn't get appreciated enough, and to me, cancer doesn't get talked about enough, and we've got to keep trying to get research to make sure that we don't lose as many people as we do with cancer. I mean, it's 2024, so and even people that, even with Tylee, we were hoping that if he could live long enough, maybe they'd find a cure for what he had. So that's the other thing. But to me, we wanted to reach out today to people who we didn't even know that had cancer and say, you know what, we do care. Because what an awful thing for those poor people to sit at home and can't move and can't get out. Kyle Tierney is one of our tight ends. He had cancer last spring, and he had it cut out, and he's doing fine, but he's scared to death that it might come back every day. So we made him an honorary captain today, and of course, he's so emotional because he knows that could have been him that we lost. So So there is no book, there are no answers. What we all have to do is wake up and be happier and make sure that we reach out and help other people. And that's what cancer awareness games are about. The guys actually call somebody and say, I'm dedicating my classwork, my practice, my game, even if I'm a scout teamer that doesn't play, to you, because I want you to know you matter. And when we win the game, we'll send you a game ball. So that's something that we've done for years. And I've gotten some of the most wonderful letters from people who are sick that said, I got this ball from this player on your team that's my nephew, and it means more to me than anything else I've got in my house. So it's something that we feel very passionate about. Anything else? Yeah, thank you all for understanding, and we'll talk more about the game on Monday.